Welcome to another episode of CJ's Corner. I'm your host, CJ Powers, and this is my corner. Today, we're going to talk about the 5 key things that you need to really develop a character that's worth watching. Now, if you're thinking about how does a character relate to a business presentation, think about the fact that when you tell a story, everything you say is highly memorable. So if you use an example character that kind of walks through the same process that you want the client to walk through, it works really well. And for those of you who are creating an entertaining story to get a theme across, or a point, or a moral, or an ethic, you need a main character to help that move the story forward as well and work for your benefit. So today, we're going to go over those 5 key elements. Let's get started. All right, here we are today. And again, we are all about crafting stories that help captivate, engage, and influence your audience. And today we're going to talk about it from the standpoint of developing a main character that makes your story work, to get the point across, to make it memorable, and to keep the interest alive for the audience. So let's start out with the first point here. You have to give your character a goal. It has to be a goal that they're going after from the start of your story all the way to the finish, and the whole climactic moment is about them achieving their goal. Maybe in a different way than people would think, but they still have to achieve that goal. Without a goal, the character kind of meanders and things happen to the character, and there's really no decision in place. You have to have the character demonstrating decision after decision, even when they're wrong choices. In the business world, your customer has to be able to relate to that character, know how to do it in a way where they can say, you know what, that situation's so much like ours, and since that main character did such and such, maybe we should do such and such as well. If you're just trying to create a novel or a screenplay, again, you need a character that makes decisions, because those decisions can drive action. Action is interesting, and people absolutely adore it. Okay, so that's the first point. Give them a goal. The second point, we need to have them commit to the action. So if you have a goal, you have a decision point. Whatever that decision is, there has to be something acted out. You have to have the main character taking action, even if it's to demonstrate what not to do, because you're going to show the consequences of that action. But you have to have action. If it's just a bunch of people chatting, who the heck is going to pay attention to that presentation or that story? It has to have some kind of action that people can see play out, or understand that it's playing out in their imagination. And all action has a point of resolve. And that's, of course, what you want, is you want a point of resolve. Now, let's jump to the third point right away. You have to, with your main character, use flaws and failure to your benefit. Okay, people say flaws. Wait, I want a good guy that gets turned into or transformed into a great guy. I want to go from good to great. I don't want him to have flaws. Oh, come on. Flaws are human. They're natural. If the character doesn't have flaws, they're not human. They're some kind of made-up robot. The audience is going to say, this is totally unrealistic. It can't happen this way. Or you're painting a utopia that will never be achieved. You have to have flaws. Now, one of the best ways to have a flaw, especially since you got a goal and you got action moving forward, have that decision end up in failure. Because failure, of course, reveals very quickly the humanity of who we are. It also helps us to realize wait a second, failure isn't anything more than just a point of learning. In other words, we can overcome this. We can take a look at where we stand and say, okay, I landed here. I'm not going to let that happen again. And you're going to move forward in a new direction to make sure things work out just the way you need it to. Okay, so make sure your main character has some flaws and that they fail several times through your story, or at least once if it's a short story. Next, we have the fact that you need to give the main character an opinion. Now, I could say, give it a strong opinion. But the fact is, in this day and age, just having an opinion is, oh my goodness. What if that opinion is wrong? What if it's not socially accepted? What if? Opinions drive interest. We want to learn from people that we've never met before. We want to see how someone else finds life to unfold and to maneuver it and all those things. We want to know their opinion so that we can then say, I need to do that too, or I'm going to stay away from that kind of perspective. So give your character a strong opinion because it makes the decision factors fantastic. It also helps to set up conflict, and conflict in story is really, really powerful. Sometimes conflict is a yes, and then it's a no, and then it's a yes, and then it's a no. And you have this battle going on. By giving your main character something substantial to just be opinionated about, you're automatically going to drive your story forward. Now, keep in mind, for those of you that want to make a business presentation, that opinion can reflect industry standards. It can reflect what you shouldn't be doing and allow the person to discover that. There's lots of different things we can do from an opinion standpoint in business. From a novel or a screenplay standpoint, or just telling the story of the family, the opinion might want to drive your moral point or your ethic point or whatever theme that you're trying to get across. So that's giving the main character an opinion. Okay, then we have express exposition with conflict. Okay, this is something that is absolutely remarkable. Have you ever been to a movie where you're watching along and all of a sudden the movie kind of almost lulls out? It just slows and comes to a screeching halt, and then all of a sudden you're informed about a bunch of different things that you need to know so the story can move forward later. It's like, oh, really? Exposition is that needed information that you have to know for the story to make sense. But if you just go and vomit it out to the audience, they're going to be like, this is boring. So the way you express exposition is through a form of conflict. Have another character disagree with the person that's expounding this information. Or have them struggling to find something and they speculate a certain way, but oh no, wait, now they find the real story. Because it's this, no, now it's that. And that kind of conflict makes it interesting and people want to hold on to it. In a business presentation, same type of thing. You know, here's what everyone is saying you should be doing, and here's the way we think it should be. Those are the types of things you want. You want that back and forth. You want that conflict to have to draw the attention of the person right back into your story every single time they start to lull away. So especially with exposition, which is boring most of the time, find a way to express it through conflict, either in your business setting or in your story setting. Okay, so those are the 5 points. Let's review them quickly. We're going to go back and say that your main character has to have a goal. Give them something to fight for throughout your story. Whether it's in business or not, they have to have a goal. They have to solve a problem. They have to achieve something go after that. The second one was to commit to action. Make sure your main character in your story, whether it's for a business presentation or not, has something to do or to decide on doing and take action to do it. There'll be natural consequences involved, conflict involved, obstacles to overcome. It works really well to drive a story home. Then the third thing was to use flaws and failure. Make sure your character is flawed. After all, we're all human. We all make mistakes. We have problems. We have issues. Take advantage of that. Make sure that there's a demonstration of failure. If you're talking in a business presentation, you want to make sure that the people understand that if they take this route, which a lot of people are recommending, you're going to end up with this failure. But if you take our solution, here's what happens to you. Okay, the fourth thing was to give the main character an opinion. Make sure that it is rock solid. Or you can use your opinion to have other people point out other key elements so that the person changes their opinion. You could do it either way. The fact is, opinion adds interest and it's memorable. And then again, the last thing is to express your exposition through conflict so it's interesting instead of boring. Well, that was another quick episode. I hope this is helpful. Please tell your friends about the show and let me know if there's anything that you want me to be going over. Have a great day.